Good morning, everyone. There are 4 things required for structural design drafting to be turned in and printed, hopefully looking somewhat professionally. I'm going to go through in the next couple of hours and do all 4. They are that basic truss and gusset plate assembly and a stress analysis attempt at it, a general taking one room of campus or one area of campus and getting it into Revit and doing a couple of prints of some simple views, making sure you're on the right coordinate system, and then doing a simple 100 by 120 or a number of, I don't really care what size building, where you actually go through and do some basic sizing and several views in Revit. So if you think about starting with Revit, you can do all of this. Obviously, in every program, you can do all of this. I would recommend you do lots of it in AutoCAD. Those who want to try into SketchUp, let me know, and I'll give you some little leeway on that, because that is something that will do most of these things because of all the shareware out. So I'm going to go ahead and remember that we won't master the file management in some of these new programs, but we have to be aware of it at least. So I'm going to break a new project here, and it's going to be a new single user project next, and I'm going to call it, and I'm going to put it in some particular place. I guess it'll be in Mark-Patak and in Documents, and I think I had a place called Inventor Files. Folder is Inventor, and the name is going to be May. I actually did turn the keyboard on this morning and it's still not working, so May Proj. In other words, get something done. Sit down with someone. Next. Finish. Alright, now I'm going to set that. Double clicking on that, that's my new project, or my current project. Lots of different options here. You don't really want to worry about those now. Folder options, where things are going to go. I'm going to say done here. Now I'm going to say file, and I'm going to begin with a new part, and I'm going to do a standard inch part. And right away, I think one of the issues here is that it's not solving in the right place, so I'm going to right away do something very quick and solve. I will point out that this is the point where it would be better if you would have drawn out and drafted in AutoCAD your base lines for everything, so that you can bring it in here with a sketch import right there. I'll also point out you could have done it in Excel. You could have done a picture out of the book for some of these problems, but it wouldn't necessarily be to scale. So if you remember our general layout, I'm going to do one, and then I'm going to go into an assembly and show you how you can go about and project geometry from an assembly and go ahead and draft right on top. So I'm going to go and I'm going to assume a 20 foot for this case, a 20 foot, so I'm going to do a 120 inch by a 12 inch. Do a rectangle here. If I can think about it, I really don't necessarily want to go from that origin point, but it's nice to carry around the origin point. So I'm going to click on that. I draft first my rectangle. Then because I've drafted a rectangle, I don't have to constrain per se, but I can now dimension. I click on that, and I want that to be 120. I want that to be 120. And I want this one to be 120. I'm sorry, 12 inches. Clicking inside of that, I'm going to make that 12. I am setting up parameters, very similar to what you do in Revit, except Revit's got a lot more parameters than this does. And I'm going to double click here on filling the screen, and it's a little odd because I have things set. I'm going to finish my sketch. I'm going to hit F6 for home, and I'll push that out as 1.5 inches. I do that by grabbing. I'm going to go coming into the screen. Remember, very often from to is going to be just as important or better than go with 2 inches here. I now have that, and it is done. I could go within this part and make other parts, but I'm going to go ahead and hit File, Save As, and be aware that it's probably not sending me the right spot, so I want to go to the May. You notice here we made a project called May Project. We're not seeing it here. Double checking where it is. See Documents, Inventor. So I'm going to go ahead and make that folder and called it May Proj 1. And that was the kind of one of the things you'll see here, May Proj 1, Part 1. Save, probably better name than Part 1 would be better. Alright. File. You can close. You can leave it open. I'll close it. File. New. Standard part. Nope. Standard assembly. You're going to use the part, the assembly, and the IDW for plotting. May Proj is what I was looking for, and actually it's probably what you'll see there. That's the project file. That the subdirectory is also what becomes important. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to place. If you notice here, right there with origins, you can go ahead and turn on by right-clicking, changing the visibility, the origin of the assembly. So now you can place, and you're going to look in May Proj 1, Part 1. You're going to bring it in, and it's going to come in generally at some point, which you just arbitrarily place and say done. With that part, now you can also turn on its origin. And so if we look around here and pick that around, right, I'm going to hit my double click here. There it is there. So eventually if we take that, we're going to move it or whatever we're going to do to it by grabbing it. And I'm going to point out why I can't move it. When it comes in, you will need to right click and unground it. But generally you want to have one thing grounded, but you can go ahead and move it around. And if you notice there, right here is where a lot of you would have problems. Still not bad to learn to use the grip snaps. I grab my grip snap here, show my translation, and it gets close. And you grab it. So you're kind of done. You've got that one done, and you could do all the different parts and then eventually bring them in based on realizing you can turn on and off. But I'll call this for now my right side, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create an assembly or a drawing. I'm going to call it Part 2, template there, May Project, it's putting it there. I'm going to say OK here, and I'm going to grab a face now. And what it does is it immediately grabs off of that. It grabs, and I apologize for the layering here, but I'm going to now, because of that, I don't really need it, but I'm going to show you here in a bad way. Once I've got that, I've got basically a plane that I picked off of another part. I can use the project geometry, and that's something that probably you really want to learn how to do. Right click, done. Right, which means now when you go to things like here, you'll be able to see that geometry. So this time, of course, you can now do the same sketch, which you don't really need to, but I'm going to grab that point there, go in this direction here, and this time I'm going to dimension again, and I'm going to say it's millimeters, and boy, that's one I don't know coming in whether you can just type inches here, but we'll try it. 120 inches, which is taking that out that way. And then dimension here is, again, it is 120 inches. So I'm going to click on that, double click on. It's actually over constrained, so I think it grabbed it already. So you're going to see that the way I laid it in, that was going to be done here. I can now say finish the sketch. You see there, I can hit F6. And these aren't lines that I'm going to use in the end, so now I'm going to extrude once again going in, this time 2 inches. Grab my profile, push in, hit OK. Now I've got both of those parts done. Thanks for listening. I'll do the next 2 parts, the gusset plate with holes, and then show you how to plat. That'll be within 20 to 30 minutes total. There's been a number of these out. I would suggest that if you don't have something done here, you do this after you do the Revit. Thanks for listening.